Hello there, it's Thomas Dolby again, back on my Lifeboat studio, The Nutmeg of Consolation, to tell you about another song from my Americana EP. This one is The Toad Lickers, and I think this is going to require an accessory. So I first got interested in toad licking when I heard a talk by Wade Davis, who is a fabulous anthropologist who gave a talk at TED about his exploits travelling around the world, hanging out a few months at a time with one tribe or another, getting high, which is basically what Wade did. His title at the time was Chief Explorer for National Geographic magazine. What a great job title. Anyway, Wade wrote this fabulous book called The Clouded Leopard. And in this book there is a chapter entitled Smoking Toad. And it turns out that smoking toad is more likely to put you in the emergency room than on cloud 9. It's been used through the centuries both for hallucinogenic purposes, for sacrificial rites, and for poisoning your husband. But it turns out that the thing to do is not to lick the toad. The thing to do is actually to get it to secrete its venom from its glands, put it on a leaf, dry it, crumble it, and smoke it. And Wade did this. Got pretty sick in the process, but I think he figured out what it was that got people interested. In my toad licking story, there's a tribe of eco-hippies who are holed up in the hills of Snowdonia, who lick toads, get high, and at night get the munchies and sneak into town and raid the skips behind supermarkets. Now, if you've ever been to Snowdon in Wales, you'll know that to call them mountains is a bit optimistic. They're kind of flat, they're sort of hillocks basically, but you'll know how naff the idea is of a tribe of toad lickers being in the mountains of Snowdon. So that was the backdrop to the story. I had some lyrical ideas, and what I'd now like to do, if possible, is to show you how I went about writing the music. So I'm working here in Apple Logic, which is often where I start when I'm writing a song, and many of the built-in instruments are fun to play with and quite inspiring. And so the first thing I went for, given that this is a kind of I wanted this to be a sort of bluegrass / techno mashup, was a banjo sound, and there was a lovely bass banjo in there. So I started working on a riff that went something like this. Then I added in a little bit of dobro, a little bit of bass, and I didn't have any drums yet, but I had this rather interesting sort of sound which reminded me a little bit of the toads that I was writing about. So I made a loop to write melodies over the top of, and the loop sounded something like this. To which I added bass. And often a loop like that is enough that you can write a melody over the top of. So I started going, toad lickers, toad lickers, and so, you know, I would mumble words like that and add in bits of lyrics here and there, reverting to the backstory that I dreamed up about the techno hippies up in the hills. So I worked like that in Logic until I had a song written, and then I took it to my band, and we recorded it as a backing track. So when it comes to actually recording the band, I go to Pro Tools, not Logic, and that's generally what's used in professional recording studios. So I recorded this at the same time as my session for the rest of the EP with 17 Hills and Road to Reno. And the band on that, if you recall, consisted of Matthew Seligman on bass, and Kevin Armstrong on banjo and dobro, and Liam Ganocki on the drums, although when I did the video it was actually Justin Hildreth miming to Liam Ganocki's part. But in the studio it was Liam that played the drums, and they go like this. So the whole backing track, the way we put it down, would have sounded, which would have had me on organ as well, would sound something like this. And then I called my friend Crackers in Canada and asked him if he'd add some accordion. I wasn't there when he did it. He did it in his own studio and sent me some WAV files, which I laid into the song like this. And then another Canadian friend added some great fiddle. This is Natalie McMaster, who is a wonderful violinist from Cape Breton. Again, I just sent her the backing track and she added some fiddle playing herself and sent me back the WAV files, and I laid them in. And then lastly, I wanted something to add a little bit of spice to it, and so I recalled seeing on somebody else's blog some rather fine jaw harp playing, and the blog belonged to none other than Imogen Heap. So I asked Imogen if she would add a little jaw harp for me, and this is what she did.
I'm recording some jaw harp from my friend Thomas Dolby. He saw me on a blog playing jaw harp, and then he sent me this song. The track's called Toad Lickers. Ow! Oh, it's caught my lip. Oh, really hurts my hand, Thomas. I caught my lip on there a few times, but anyway, I'm sure you have at least a bar in there somewhere.
So Imogen sent me back some WAV files, and I laid them into my Pro Tools session, messed around with them a little bit, and this was the result.